Welcome everybody. I know it's January, but it's a great time to be talking about selecting our seeds for the upcoming season. And you might be like, well, geez, it's January. Do we really need to be thinking about this now? But if with COVID and things like that, the gardening market has just taken off. And I've participated in a few conferences and things like that where they're like, the popular things in the coming year are looking like they might be tight with the demand. So if you're looking at picking some specific seeds that are your favorite or something like that, now's the time to think about it because things are selling out. I know my wife and we placed some orders for some strawberries way back in November. And they were already starting to sell out then at some of the commercial nurseries. So I don't know what the retail nurseries are in the process of doing right now. But that's why we're bringing this program to you tonight in the beginning of January. So, but anyway, what we're going to talk about is purchasing and sourcing your plant material for the coming year. And obviously we all have, being that we're from Dyersville, I'm from Dyersville too, we have local sources that we can purchase stuff from. So we've got, and just a small disclaimer about tonight with this presentation, I'm not endorsing anybody when I'm talking about them. But being that we're having a conversation about selecting our seed sources, we have to mention names in order to have a conversation. So, but anyway, just throwing that out there. But being that we live in Dyersville, we do have a local Tyson's, we do have a local Ace Hardware. Both of those places have garden centers. We also have grocery stores that have garden centers too. And when purchasing local, we obviously get that friendly face to help us out in selecting our plants and things like that. But there are certain strengths with purchasing local with some of our stuff. So when it comes to vegetable transplants, annual flowers, potted trees, and some of our live type materials such as potato eyes or seed potatoes and onion sets, those are all things that are really easily purchased local, and they're usually of high quality. But where we really find weaknesses is when we purchase local is trying to buy potted strawberries, those boxed raspberries or boxed grapes that you find at the garden center that come in a container box with a plastic bag, and there's just this one little stick sticking out the top. Those really don't do very well for us. They're usually on the discount rack, and they're not really excellent specimens. And usually those types of plant materials are best bought from a nursery or potted at the local store that you're buying your material from. But something else in relation to buying local, that being that the local stores kind of have their strength in selling those transplants. I do have a video that I will post at the end of this session that talks about selecting your transplants at the garden center. So that's something that I made last spring from our transplants that I purchased locally. And it just gives a few tips about what to look for, what not to buy, what different things to look for when buying your transplants, because it's not just about the biggest plant. Size doesn't always matter when buying transplants. And if you're experienced in gardening, you might know that already. But I'll have that link available for you at the end of the presentation. But then when it comes to buying our seed or plant material from a catalog company, I've got a whole bunch of different examples here of catalogs. So I've probably got 20 different catalogs here of all of these here, all of, just stacks of seed catalogs. And you might be like, what makes a good catalog? What makes a good company? How do I know I'm purchasing good material when I get 30 different catalogs in the mail? Like, who's got the good stuff? Well, it depends upon what you're trying to specialize in. So if you're trying to specialize in something like bulbs, well, you might go to something, as an example, the Brex magazine, where they've got just bulbs upon bulbs upon bulbs of different types of flowers. And a magazine or a garden catalog company such as this is going to have pretty good stock if they are primarily selling all bulbs. So if they're selling things such as annuals, such as zinnias or marigolds or something like that, that might not be their best material that they're selling. They might offer it in their catalog, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad, but their specialty is bulbs. And so the selection that they have in that catalog is usually an indication of what their strength is in. So here we have the Vermont Bean and Seed Company, and you can about guess what their specialty is. They have pages and pages and pages of beans. Now, that doesn't mean that if we were to purchase beans from another company that they're any lesser of a quality, but when you're looking at a catalog and you're like, you know, my specialty is tomatoes or my specialty is beans, and if you go to the Vermont Bean and Seed Company, chances are you're going to be getting yourself a decent variety of beans, and they're going to be of decent quality. And here I have the Totally Tomatoes book as well, and you can see we have just pages and pages and pages of tomatoes there. And so that's an indication that that's something that they're not going to lack on, and they're most likely going to give you a quality product just because they're all about tomatoes. So, and this one here is Edmonds Roses, and you can about guess what their specialty is roses. So we just got tons and tons of roses in there of that specific, from that specific company. Now, you might be like, well, we got all these catalogs here, but how do I know what varieties to buy? You know, and you might be trying something else out new, such as celery, or you might be wanting to try out a new cucumber, something like that. You might be like, well, what's a good cultivar? Well, we got a few resources. So the first thing that I would draw your attention to is the suggested vegetable varieties for home garden use. Excuse me. And this is something that's available on our extension website. And at the end of this webinar, I'll put this down in the chat box for you guys to be able to see the link and access this online. So you guys can see this. This is an Iowa State derived publication. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how they came up with the selections. So that's just a small disclaimer there. But those are suggested varieties for Iowa. Another thing that is local to Dubuque County is back in 2019, our master gardeners funded a tomato cultivar trial, and they bought the seeds for me, and I did the cultivar trial. I don't know if any of you guys know Jerry and Lois Kramer, but we did the cultivar trial out at Jerry and Lois Kramer's farm, and we had 12 different kinds of tomatoes out there, and we had the master gardeners out, and we had votes, and we had recorded yield and everything to see what was going to be the best tomato. Well, we got all done with the yield and everything at the end of the year and figured out there is no best tomato. So what we did find out, though, that the best tasting tomato out of the 12 that we tried was Brandywine Red, and the best yielding tomato that we had was something called a Defiant PHR, which is a hybrid tomato. So between those two, we actually did a project last year with Extension, but we have a lot of other notes in this publication that if you're like, you know what, I want to try Big Beef, and you can look at the back and be like, yeah, Big Beef tomato cracking was often noted. So you can be like, okay, well, I can expect that in my Big Beef tomatoes. But this is another publication that is locally derived, and we just did it 2 years ago to evaluate those tomatoes, and it's a resource for you. And I'll also have that link at the end of this presentation for you guys to check out. Another thing, being that Iowa State doesn't have a huge emphasis on cultivar selection for garden varieties, another resource I wanted to point you to is All America Selection. So you can see AAS on here. You can't really see their logo that well, but their logo has AAS on there. And you'll see that at, for example, in some of the seed racks in Tyson's and in Ace Hardware, you will see AAS on the packet. And that means that that variety has been tested nationally and received an award for being a winner as being a good performer all across the United States. So when you select an AAS selected garden variety, chances are it's going to do good for you. It may not be your best performing tomato, your best performing cucumber, but at least you should get something because it's been tested in such a wide variety of situations that it was successful at many different locations and it received that award. So that's another idea if you're looking for cultivar ideas. Let me see here. I have some notes. I just want to make sure I covered everything. So yeah, we talked about like when selecting our seeds, you know, and what catalog do we go with? You know, a catalog that's going to have a lot of variety of one thing is probably going to specialize really well. So like we use the tomatoes, the Totally Tomatoes catalog, and they're probably going to have really good tomatoes. However, if you're also wondering too, like, well, I get all these other catalogs, you know, Kelly Nurseries, you know, if you look through there, there's not a lot of things that they're specialized in. They just kind of have a mixture of everything. And that's something that you yourself as the consumer will have to decide based on what you're getting from them, if that's something you want to buy from them in the future or not. But some of the other catalogs do focus on specific things. And that's something that if you're looking for heirloom type plants, Seed Savers Exchange, I don't have a catalog for Baker Creek heirloom seeds, but they also have another good selection of organic and heirloom seeds. We also have a local producer of seeds as well. It's called Sandhill Preservation down in Calamus, Iowa, and they primarily focus on heirloom and organic seeds. And but their catalog, like I said, is only available online. And if you're interested in finding that out or having a link to that, I can find you that link for you. And then also, let's see here, what another one? Oh, High Mowing. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but they're more of a large scale organic seed company. And then also RH Shumway. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of RH Shumway before, but they focus not on necessarily organic, but a lot of the old time cultivars or plants that were sown maybe back in the 50s or the 60s or something like that. Their catalog brings a lot of those cultivars back to the landscape now and make those available to gardeners. So, and their catalog focuses on that, makes that clear by animating all the pictures. They don't have actual pictures of apples in there. They're all drawn pictures for those plants. So another way to gauge if the specific seed company that you're buying from is something that you're interested in is if you're looking for the newest or the improved cultivars. So something that, as an example, would be something that demonstrates that is something like Gurney's. So Gurney's has a lot of hybrid things in here, and that is usually an indication that that is something that they're constantly looking for new plants, because hybrids aren't something that's easily kept around, unlike an heirloom. So in Gurney's here, you can see the Red Titan Hybrid Beet, or let's see, where's another one here? Midnight Queen Hybrid Eggplant. So a company like this that has a lot of hybrids in it, they also have a lot of All-America selections, which is what we talked about before. A lot of those newer cultivars are in here. And so that's when you know a company has kind of got the new, the latest and the greatest. And so that company will probably focus and have good stock if you're looking for the latest and greatest. So this is one example. We also have another company called Johnny's, and they have, not only do they have the latest and the greatest, but they also have their own breeding program. So when you look through here, they have specifically highlighted cultivars that are specific to Johnny's. And that's when you also know that that catalog company is focusing on the latest and greatest, and they're not going to skimp on the quality of that seed. And so that's when you know that that might be the seed company for you as well. Let's see here. We also have Stark. So Stark is unique in that they're one of the few companies out there that focuses exclusively on fruit. So when a lot of folks come to our office, I can actually recommend folks to this company because there aren't any other catalog companies that I know of that have this type of diversity of fruits and vegetable, or sorry, just fruits and perennial crops in their catalog. So they're what do you want to say, a very popular catalog, and they're not going to skimp on quality, and they're known for that. And then we also have, if you're familiar with the commercial vegetable world, there's commercial seed catalogs, and these companies aren't necessarily for home gardeners. And if you happen to find one of their catalogs, you'll know it's not for a home gardener because they sell their seeds by the thousand. So in here, they'll sell squash, 1,000 seeds, 5,000 seeds, 25,000 seeds. And you know that this company is not necessarily tailored towards the home gardener. Occasionally, I do purchase stuff from these companies on a trial basis, and they make you pay dearly for those seeds. But if you want to try the latest and greatest, it is fun, and I do that. But this is something where for a home gardener, it may not be your type of thing, or might not be set up for you just because the cost for that small amount of seed is so expensive. But it is an option out there if you're wanting to try the latest and greatest and what is in hybrids and things like that. It's just not tailored towards the home gardener, and it costs a lot of money. So so yeah, those are kind of the overviews of the catalog. So if you're looking for your organic and things like that, you would go to a catalog that's focused more on organic seeds and things like that. If you're looking for a catalog that's or if you're looking for fruits, I would go to a catalog that's more focused in fruit and has a good variety of fruit. Now, if you're looking, and I'm just going to use the one example here, here's one, gurneys. So if you're looking to buy a lot of garden produce, you can go through here and buy your beans, you can buy your lettuce, you can buy your beets. And then if you're like, you know, I want to buy some fruits. Now, fruits aren't necessarily Gurney's specialty, maybe, but by purchasing some fruits, you're not necessarily going to lose out because you're only purchasing a small amount of your plants. That's maybe not their specialty. Now, I'm not saying that that's not, because like I said, just for the sake of discussion, we're just using them as an example. But that's my point with that. So another example in relation to that would be the roses. So if we go through this rose catalog here and we found some other type of alternative flower, that's not necessarily saying that that flower is going to be bad, just may not be their specialty. So so I don't know, does anyone have any questions? This is a time where you can unmute yourself or pop in and ask a question if you'd like. No? Really?
Yep, I don't hear anybody having questions.
Okay. I didn't know, everything is still on my screen, so I was like, did I lose everybody?
Because your spotlight lighted, let me do that.
Oh, okay.
Remove spotlight. Now maybe they'll. Oh yeah, there's a message in chat from Karen White asking about if it was recorded, and yes, Karen, I am recording it. It'll be posted on our YouTube and Facebook pages. Do you have any questions though for Ray? Since you can ask him everything because you weren't here.
And also too, for those of you who might wonder about the seed cat, like I said, I have like 20, 30 catalogs here. If you guys want to come to the extension office and check out what we have, and if you're like, you know, I'm wondering if this seed company or if that seed company would have this or that, or if you want to see what new seed companies are out there that may not have come through your mailbox, feel free to stop by, because anytime I find a seed catalog from an alternative company, I stick it in our stash here. So you guys are more than welcome to come to the office. We're only open by appointment only. So if you want to stop by, I'm sure Shirley will be able to forward everyone my email or my contact information. And you guys can just stop by the office if you'd like, and you guys can check out all the catalogs if you want. Yeah, depending upon which catalog it is, you could probably even take it home with you. I might not even need it back because I probably will get copies. Some of the companies are really good for sending you 5 or 6 copies a year, which explains why their seeds are so expensive. But
so
that's
Ray,
not my business management decision.
Ray, there, Karen had a question or a statement. She's also interested in seed saving. Do you want to talk about, can you talk about that a little bit? We did have a really short class last fall.
Yeah, on seed saving, yeah. So when it comes to seed saving, the number one thing that we should think about when planning our garden for seed saving is thinking about the isolation distance. So crops such as like tomatoes and beans don't need to be isolated as far and can almost be planted right next to each other without any cross contamination. So for example, if you planted purple beans next to green beans, chances are they're probably not going to cross over that bad, or if at all. But if you were to plant one type of sweet corn that you wanted to save till next year in one area of the garden, and right next to it you planted like a purple popcorn, you're going to have next year sweet corn that is all colored purple, different colors. It's amazing. But anyway, you have to understand when planning for seed saving what the isolation distance is, because you might have, for example, some carrots. Now, I'm not sure about the isolation distance on carrots, but if you plant carrots and they cross-pollinate with another wild carrot, such as Queen Anne's lace, which is a common ditchweed, you might have some really undesirable carrots next year that just are hard and woody like the weed. So, so yeah, understanding isolation distance is important, and how to prevent cross-pollination if you're looking to save your seed is important. And then from there, it's also Also important to understand too, prior to planting, to save your seeds if your plant is going to mature with seeds in the current year. So like for carrots, they take 2 years. You can't leave them in the ground. You have to bring them inside and replant them out next year. It's a very labor intensive process. But yeah, that is something else to think about too. So like broccoli, or not broccoli, cabbage. Cabbage, I think, is one that takes 2 years to flower. Trying to think what else is another one that takes 2 years to flower. I think beets are another one, if I remember right, or another one that take 2 years to flower, and onions are too. So, but yeah, those are things to kind of think about, is isolation distance, the time to set the seed. Yeah, those are kind of the main things. And then from there, actually storing the seeds is pretty easy. Just keeping them in a cooler cooler cabinet on the north side of the house is the general recommendation, and they store wonderfully there in a plastic bag. So those are just some general tips. And the isolation distance is something that's commonly overlooked when most people save their seeds. I hope that answers the question or provides some feedback.
So how would you know what the isolation distance for something should be?
That's true. So luckily, Seed Savers in Decorah has a lot of information available on what that isolation distance is. So I would send you to their website, because that's not something that I could send you to within our university information. But they really have a good database on that, and that would be or not company, but the organization I would send to you for that information.
I'm having trouble hearing you when you drop your voice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the tail end of stuff is floating out there in pieces.
Oh, I'll try and enunciate better if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. So I don't know if there are any other questions out there. I will, in the bottom, what I will do here, I have this information loaded on my computer, and what I will do is I will put the links to those resources that I talked about. So there's the video on choosing transplants. I will put that in the chat box, as well as the other links to the publications online, so that you have all of those there for you. So they should all transfer good. So I'm going to put them here and hit enter. Okay, so I don't know if they showed up in your chat box at the bottom of the screen, but if you click on those, there should be 4 links there. And those are the things that I talked about tonight, whether they were the All-America selections or the tomato cultivar trial for Dubuque County, or the suggested vegetable varieties for the home garden. So those are all on there, as well as the video on choosing transplants and what to look for at the store, because choosing transplants at the store is a little different than good seeds. So yeah.
So if we don't have any questions, Ray, would you want to talk a little bit just about the things we have coming up?
Yeah, so that's really exciting. Could you give me 15 seconds to get something quick?
Go for it.
Okay, okay.
If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. And this is being recorded, so those of you coming late, it will be posted on the library's YouTube page and Facebook.
Okay, so the library has a program coming up on starting your own sweet potatoes. So not to spoil it for everybody, but everyone's going to get a sweet potato, and you'll put it in a mason jar. And that sweet potato, when you put it in a sunny window and in a warm room or close to a sunnyish window, over the course of a couple months, it will start shooting out little sprouts like this. And what you'll do is you'll cut those sprouts off, and you'll transplant them into, I did yogurt cups, but you can do whatever container you're recycling in your house, and you will have little sweet potato transplants for your garden next year. So that is one thing coming up. We're also doing another program on making seed tape. So for those of you that have ever seeded carrots in the garden or beets in the garden, and like you're out there on a windy day trying to like shake the little seeds into the furrow, and then all of a sudden 30 of them drop in one space, and trying to weed those out is terribly hard. So what this is a seed tape that you can spend your days in the dead of winter right now, taking seeds out of the tray in the comfort of your own kitchen or living room and putting them on a piece of toilet paper in a line. So that way next spring, when it comes time for you to plant your garden, all you do is you just make a furrow, put the seed tape in the ground and cover it back up and water it, and away you go. And the seeds are all spaced out evenly and things like that. And so that's another activity that we're doing. Did we talk about, Shirley, what other activities did we talk about potentially doing?
You're doing one on sharpening your tools or caring for your tools?
Yep. Yeah, we're also doing another activity on sharpening your tools and the proper angles and what side of the blade to sharpen if you're sharpening like a pruners or a shovel or something like that. So yeah, we're also going to be covering that as well.
And I think that gets us to March, so we'll see what we get up with after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I was late. I was really disappointed. I was in a different meeting and I was late, Ray, but thanks for doing this. But do you have the dates for those other events offhand? Shirley, do you have those dates with you?
I can see if I can look them up for you. Give me just a minute.
I know I could probably look them up too, but I'd like you to sign me up. I'll try not to be late.
Well, the seed tape is going to be a take and learn type program. So it'll come as a kit. And then there'll be a link to a YouTube video on there. You just type in that link into the computer and it should take you to the video, and it will give you the directions right then and there of how to do it in your own home.
Perfect.
So that's that. The sharpening tools, if I remember right, Shirley, is going to be a live.
I think we decided not to do it live because we were trying to figure out how we would record you.
Okay, that's true. I don't remember all the details of each program, but yeah, how we're going to do it. But I know we're going to work it out. Just like this one, we worked it out, and it works out great. So
the sweet potato one should be coming up soon.
Yes, I thought it was the 18th.
Yeah, I'm not finding it on my list. Let me look on my calendar rather than the list. Maybe it just got missed. So yeah, it's the 18th. Ready, Set, Grow sweet potatoes. So that will be one that Ray will pre-record and we will drop on that date. And we do have kits to go with that one until we run out. How many 32 potatoes do we have, Ray?
I could give you an official count. I don't have that count right now because I got the sweet potatoes in yesterday from the food hub. So yeah, I could give you an official count here maybe tomorrow.
Sounds great. Can you sign me up for that, Shirley? Or do I have to come in and sign up, don't I? Or do I have to call you and say?
Remember, there should be a link. I think there's a link on the events page. If you go to the library.
Yep. I'll just go on that and sign up for all these then. That sounds great.
That would probably be the easiest. And you'll know them before anybody else because you're on the board. So.
But everyone here is in the know too, so they can go on the.
Yeah, well, the January event schedule is out, so everything in January is good to go. I'm trying to get to the upcoming events for February because I know we've got a couple things on there.
And if anyone ever has any questions about their garden, feel free to give us a call at the office here. We're gradually reopening. So we're open by appointment pretty much all the time, but most of the time here we have somebody at the phones. Being that we were in the construction phase, The office phone switchboard didn't transfer very well to the new line. So sometimes the phone was on, sometimes it was off, sometimes it was ringing to other offices when it wasn't to others. So it was the goofiest thing, but now we're back up because today they got that all moved back after the construction's over with. So we should have somebody here during normal hours to forward you on to me or my voicemail, which always gets to me because it's sent straight to my email. I get this little voice message in my inbox that says, hey, this is so-and-so, and I had a question about this, and I give them a call back. So yeah, if you ever have any questions in relation to your garden, feel free to give us a call here at the office here in Dubuque.
So for the programs, the Renewing Your Cutting Edge is the week of February 4th. So the first week of February that will drop. And then the Make Your Own seed tape starts on January 18th. And we bought seed in bulk, so we got a lot of seed.
Yeah.
And we bought carrots,
Yeah.
leaf lettuce, radishes, and beets. So that'll be a take and make kit also, and you'll be able to have all 4 of those to make seed tape with.
Awesome. That's also on the 18th, you said?
That's February.
February.
It's
Got you.
15th. I put the wrong date here.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, it's the first or the second Monday in February, I think is what we had, and that's one that'll be pre-recorded and we'll just drop rather than having it being live.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
these were all kind of done in strategy. So the sweet potatoes are being done now in January because these take so unbelievably long to grow. But it works, and it's a lot of fun because I grew 9 hills last year.
Would you show the potato that's in the jar?
Oh, so this one here, this isn't the exact replica of what's going on. These are sprouts that came off of a potato, and I put them in the jar just because I haven't had time to plant them. But optimally, what's best is to put them in a yogurt cup and make your own transplant.
Raise your jar up.
Okay, yeah, here's the jar.
So the potato's not in there.
Not this one, but in the what you'll actually end up doing is you'll put this potato in the jar, and then these vines will grow out of the potato, and then you cut those off.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
you showed one of those to me, Ray, when you were here at the library.
Yeah, that one I left at home.
Okay.
I didn't know that you were going to ask me about that tonight, so that's at home.
That's okay.
So
It looks really cool.
I kind of disappointed my wife with it because she walked in the door, thought I bought her flowers, and then she's like, "Oh, that's a sweet potato." She's like, "There's a hint, Ray." I'm like, "Okay."
Cute.
Okay. Are there any more questions or comments for Ray?
Nope, just to say thank you. Thanks. You're a great resource. I've called your office before and gotten some help on some gardening things, and I really appreciate it. So
Yeah, well, hopefully this was helpful stuff. So it is a challenge for me to be able to convey how to look for a seed company without endorsing anybody or saying bad things about them or whatever. So that's kind of politically stated, but yeah, there are things and commonalities that you can draw from seed catalogs to identify whether they're good or not.
I will look forward to seeing the rebroadcast since I missed
Okay.
it. So thank you very much.